All right, folks, look, I'm back at it again with another budget-friendly video, right? Today, I'm gonna show you guys how to make a beef and potato casserole. Oh, you know what? I probably should have said this. It's a cheesy beef and potato casserole, and it's budget-friendly, and guess what, folks? We finna do it in the crock pot. Now, I want you guys to come over here, take a look at these ingredients. There's not a whole lot to it. Listen, we using frozen corn on that. This is a great video, you know, a great recipe for you guys to make, especially if you're going to work. Now, by me flying over all of these videos, don't forget the full ingredient list is on my website, smokingandgrillingwithab.com, and that's WITAB.com. And I want to let you guys know this right here. Look, my garlic presses are finally in. You guys can see them. Here they are. Got me on there, blah, blah, blah. This is it. So if you guys want to get it, just check my website. All of the information is on there. You know what I mean? This will save a lot of time when it comes to mincing garlic. Okay, so look, the first thing we're gonna do is, I'm starting with a medium flame, right? I got a medium flame underneath the bottom. I'm gonna go ahead and add just a little bit of this extra virgin olive oil. Just a little bit, right? It's gonna render its own. Now this is some organic, you know, ground beef, right? So this right here is 85-15. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop this in. All right, so I'm gonna get in here and start breaking this up, you know, my meat masher, right? So that's 1 pound of ground beef. Okay, so while we browning our, you know, our ground beef, now you want to go ahead and just peel, you know, your potatoes, right? Before I cut them, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stick them inside of. Okay, so you can see by using, you saw we started out with almost like a block of ground beef, right? So now when you look at it right here. That's what I like about the meat masher. It gets it so small because you want to have it small like this. So you want every bite to make sure it has, you know, some ground beef in it, right? So I'm gonna go ahead, turn off my fire. Now I haven't done anything to it. What I'm getting ready to do is give it just a generous pinch of salt, and of course I'm gonna come back with my cracked black pepper, right? All right, now we're gonna give this a mix, and then what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and start. The first thing we're gonna do is add this, you know, 2-hour, you know, crock pot. All right, so we just add this here. Now, if you guys got any excess fat in here, you want to drain that off, right? But as you can see, I've gotten most of it out, and I want to get all of this in here. Now, on my recipe card, you guys will see that I said 1 pound. You guys can go up to 1.5 pounds. I'm just doing it this way. Make it this way, see what I have at the end, and you tell me what do you guys want to have. You know, do you want it to be a little bit more meat inside? But I have a tendency to put too much meat in there, but it's to my liking. Okay, now that we got the ground beef inside of the crock pot, listen, these 3 cans right here is what we want to put in, right? So I'm gonna bring this over here, open this up, and then I'm gonna do it, you know, pour it in here. I'm not gonna drain or nothing like that. You just wanna get it. Now look, the diced tomatoes with the green chili, that's the good stuff right there, right? You'll love that. If you don't have that and can't find it, you guys can always add yourself some of these fire roasted diced tomatoes, right? So then we're gonna add our kidney beans. Notice I didn't do any draining. And then we're gonna open up our cream of mushroom and get that inside. Okay, then we just go with the rest of the ingredients. And the reason I do it like that, because look, when I do this, last thing I wanna put in is my potatoes, right? I don't want them to be sitting just in there before that. That's why I didn't cut them down. So we got them like that. Now we add our corn. If you guys don't have frozen, don't worry. You know what I mean? But frozen, just, the timing just works out, you know? So you can look at it there. It's already nice and creamy. Chili powder, right? Now you can do, this is truly a dump and go, you know what I mean? But I like to just mix mine like this, you know? And then last, or not last, but what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna use my press, right? So you guys can get an up close and personal look at it. You know, it just got the signature, you know, SG, standing for smoking and grilling, right? So just load it up. Oh, let me show you this. I'm gonna take this one out. Look at how big this garlic clove is, right? So we just put that in there. And And this should stop us from having to mince, folks. And just give it a, like that. Take the back of anything sharp. You know what? You ain't even gotta do that. Since I'm using my spatula, we just go just like that. Now, you'll have a little extra. You see this right here? This is like the outer part of the garlic, you know, clove. We just leave that in there. Put another one in, and we're gonna get it all, folks. That's one thing I like about this here. All right, so let me get the rest of them in. Okay, so you can see we got the minced garlic on the top. Now we're gonna come over here to this onion. Look at how I'm cutting this onion down. I don't really cut it. I mean, well, what I'm gonna say is I really don't dice it. This is enough right here, right? So we just add this to it. After a few hours, this starts to disintegrate. You know, it gets smaller and it releases all of its flavor inside of here, right? So no worries, we just get that in there like that. If some of it is small, depends on how you cut it, there's no worries, right? It's really about just infusing it with the onion and getting the flavor. Okay, so now I'm getting ready to add my milk. Now this is whole milk, folks, all right? Whole milk in, and then if you guys pay attention right here, look, I'm using my A seasoning. A lot of you guys have that out there. If you have it, that's great. If you have your own AP, you can just add a couple of tablespoons of that too. This right here, give it that color and that flavor, folks, you know? So, all right, so what we wanna do is we just wanna mix it all together, make sure that onion, now the way you cut it, if you cut it like I did mine, it might be in layers, no worries. Listen, when this heat get underneath it, you know what I mean, it's all gonna separate and get small and, you know, infuse all of this together. And you see how it look rich and creamy now? We're not gonna add our, you know, our cheese until the last 20 minutes, folks. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut, the last thing we're gonna do, now we finally on the last, we're gonna cut these potatoes down. I wanna keep them kind of like the same size, right? So I'm just drying them off so that I can see to make sure that most of my pieces are, you know, the same size. All right, so once we got them down here, you guys can put as much in or as at least, or the less in, it doesn't make a difference. You know what I mean? So we're gonna cut it like this. You just wanna make sure you got about the same thickness, right? So that's good. That's good. Look, so I'm gonna take these and we just throw them in the inside just like that, right? So real simple. All you gotta do is do that. Then I'm gonna stir it up and then we're gonna go ahead and set this timer. All right, look, I wanna tell you this before I start my timer on, you know, on my slow cooker, right? I want you guys to look at this right here. If you're looking here, I've gotten away from that, but I gotta say it. Listen, if you keep yourself some hot, soapy water right there, this is all the dishes that I have. Once I set my timer, I'm gonna go ahead and wash these and then I'll be done, folks. Okay, so look, that's what it looks like. You see all the potatoes, right? I am really a truly meat potato type of cat, right? So now we're gonna put the lid on the top. I'm gonna hit power. We're gonna go ahead and set this on low and we're gonna set a timer for 6 hours, right? So we're going, I hope you guys are seeing that. That's 6 hours and I'm gonna hit start. And listen, I wanna tell you this part. It is important that you guys don't lift the top off of the crock pot. Listen, it's designed for you to keep the lid on. If you take that top off to stir it, smell it, or even to check it, what happens is you might as well add another 30 minutes onto your cook. That's a little heads up. You all heard the saying, if you looking, you ain't cooking. Okay, so listen, my timer just went off. I should have said this part in the beginning because you know we was left over with the cheese, right? I did mention that we're gonna go ahead and, you know, put the cheese in at the end. All we're gonna do is shred about a cup of shredded cheese. You guys can use whatever type of cheese you like. I'm gonna go ahead and use this. I'm gonna do a little combination of this right here, sharp cheddar. And then notice I'm putting it on the small side, right? We're gonna grate it on the small ones. Just helps it melt, you know, a little better. And then we probably put this in there, you know, stir it all up and let it stay in there for about 20 minutes. And after that, it's ready to serve, you know, so we'll do it like this. You don't need to turn it back on. There's a lot of heat already in there on it. So we just continue this. And then I do have some in the refrigerator, you know what I mean, some other cheese, probably mozzarella or something like that. I just do a little mixture. Okay, so you see my shredded cheese, right? So I'm gonna take my top off. You guys can see how I look down here. I like to run a spatula around the edges. Look at that right there. Yes, sir. Now we're gonna richen it up with that cheese, right? So listen, I wanna tell you guys this. You wanna check to make sure your potatoes is the way you want them to be, right? So if I take one of these, we just run this in here like this, look. Ah, yeah. It should just have just a little bit of resistance trying to come back. You know what I mean? That's me really like lifting it up. But these right here are right, folks. Now, let's go ahead and add this cheese. All right. And I told you guys this was mozzarella. This is actually Monterey. What I'm doing is you can use any kind of cheese you would like, but what I'm doing is getting rid of all of the cheese that I have. You know, because I pre-shred a lot of cheese. It's time for me to do some new with some new fresh, right? So we just give this, you see how that heat is? The heat in there? Ah, yeah. Okay, so once you get all that cheese in there, look at this right here. You'll know. You see how it, look, I don't know, you guys should be able to see that texture. I can see tomato in here, I can see corn. You guys can add more in there if you like. You know what I mean? You do however you want to do, but I got you in the ball game. And I can tell you, I can see it seasoned good. And I can tell you, listen, I had stepped out, come back to this right now, it'll have your whole house smelling like ooh-wee, folks. Look at them potatoes. Y'all that don't like beans, let me answer that question now. Don't put no beans in it. Okay, so I let the cheese, melt in there for about 15 to 20 minutes, It cools down enough to even serve. So if you guys look, we're gonna go ahead and put some of this in the bowl. Oh yeah. You can see the thickness of it. Look at that. Oh yeah, you see that? Now I want to warn you with this right here. You can call your folks and tell them, if you told somebody you was gonna call them back, call them now and tell them, hey, you out for the night. This is all you need, and this is a lot right here in this bowl. But you see that right there? Now, let me go ahead and decorate that just a little bit more. Here, we'll put some chives on the top. Put some green on it to make it pop. You guys can put sour cream on it. You can do whatever. But most importantly, you got to devour, them potatoes. Okay, so I let the cheese, melt in there for about 15 to 20 minutes, It cools down enough to even serve. So if you guys look, we're going to go ahead and put some of this in the bowl. Oh, yeah. You can see the thickness of it. Look at that. Oh, yeah. You see that? Now, I want to warn you with this right here. You can call your folks and tell them, if you told somebody you was going to call them back, call them now and tell them, hey, you out for the night. This is all you need. And this is a lot right here in this bowl. But you see that right there? Now, let me go ahead and decorate that just a little bit more. Here, we'll put some chives on the top. Put some green on it to make it pop. You guys can put sour cream on it. You can do whatever. But most importantly, you got to devour, them potatoes. Okay, folks, so listen. Look at that. I done took pictures of that. Look how that cheese done melted. I put some chives on there to put that green. Listen, I'm not finna over talk it, folks. We finna go in here. Ooh, it's nice and thick. And guess what? We're gonna cut some of that potato down. You see that? We even got a little bit of that bean. That right there is the money. All right, folks. You know what I'm finna say. Cheers, y'all. Okay, folks. I'm gonna keep it real with you. This right here is right. Now, I got it. All of the ingredients is like super simple, right? But it's the combination of them all tied in with that cheese and them seasonings. Come on, folks. This is it right here. Now, if you guys got another way that you would, something that you would add to this to level it up, let me know down in the comment section below. I'd be eager to, read that and see if I can't just refreak this your way. Now, with that being said, let me take this time to say thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, smash that subscribe button, and tell everybody out there there's a channel out here that's simplifying these recipes and taking the mystery out of cooking. And you know what I'm about to do, folks. I'm going to show it to you now. Now you got to look at the board. I'm out. Peace.